들리나요? 제 말이 들리고 있군요. 힘든 부탁이지만 이쪽 세상으로 와주세요. 티르나 노예가 파괴되려 합니다.
Hello everyone, welcome to Erin, the world of Mabinogi. Mabinogi is a fairly old game with several chapters that are broken up into multiple generation updates. Along with the generations, there are some side stories, town stories, and even a few limited time event stories that are all canon to the lore of this game. Getting into the game's story may be a bit daunting to new players, but that is why I'm here to help. My name is Wow from the North American server, and I'll be your guide through the lore of Mabinogi. Before we get too carried away, there's a few things I need to address and make clear before the start of this series. 1. What race will we follow? There are 3 different races you can play as in the game: human, elf, and giant. For this entire series, we will be telling the story from the perspective of a human player, so please ignore my pointy ears. 2. Chronological order. While this might seem obvious at first, we will be following the Korean release order for the content of this game. Mabinogi is a Korean MMO, and while all major updates, such as the generations, are released in the same order, the talent, side, and event stories are subject to delay or early release in other regions. Furthermore, with all this content already released, new players might experience the non-generation stories out of order, and that can cause some confusion. So for this series, we will stick to the release schedule from Korea to keep things running smoothly. 3. The Blanna Quest. The Blanna questline is a tutorial on how to play the game. While it does have its own story, it doesn't fall into any given location on the timeline, and mainly serves as an aid for new and returning players to the game. Because of this, we will not address the Blanna questline in this series. However, if people want, I can make a standalone video explaining that questline in a future video. 4. Inspiration and pronunciations. This game is inspired by Irish mythology. A lot of the locations, characters, names, and terminology used are all in Gaelic. Thus, pronouncing half this stuff will be a nightmare for me. I will do my best to say everything correctly, as well as provide visual aid on what I'm saying and how to pronounce it. With those things out of the way, let's begin the series properly with Chapter 1, Generation 1, Advent of the Goddess. Your journey begins in the Soul Stream. There you meet Nal, the guide for all Militian souls that find themselves on the Soul Stream on their way to Erin. The Soul Stream is a place between dimensions, and Militians are souls from a different world that upon entering the Soul Stream gain the ability to be reborn in a new body whenever they need. Nal helps you with finding an appearance for your new body, and with the help of a few other Militians, you set off on your new life in Erin, arriving in a town called TheBadger. TheBadger is a small town in the foothills of the Morrighan Mountains, which are located in the northern region of the Ula continent. It's fairly isolated and has a long history that dates back to the first inhabitants of the land. The first person you meet in this village is Chief Duncan, who happily greets you and helps you get settled in the town and acquainted with the other residents. Amongst the other residents, you meet Trevor, the town guard that keeps a watchful eye on the northern path that leads up into the mountains. Mevin, one of the 2 local priests of the Church of Limerick, a church dedicated to the god of love. Reynold, a former warrior turned combat instructor that can be found training youngsters at the school. Lassar, a spell-casting prodigy that teaches others how to use magic. and Fergus, the best blacksmith in all the land. The people in this town help you get your bearings, teaching you a variety of skills and tricks to thrive, from combat to magic to simply just enjoying the quiet moments in life. Your new life is peaceful and uneventful. That is until you experience a dream of a woman, no, a goddess in a white gown with black hair and black wings, beckoning out to you. She implores you to seek her out, and that Tarlach is in grave danger. But what is Tarlach? And who was that goddess? Before you get a chance to ask anyone, Duncan asks you to find a misplaced earring among the snowmen in Schnee-Schnecta, a snowy mountain pass north of town. Not wanting to disappoint Duncan, you search through the massive clearing of snowman for the earring in question, noting an odd structure to the north. Eventually, you locate the wayward earring and return to town. When you give Duncan the missing earring, he'll tell you about the strange structure you saw. The structure is related to the Druids, and leads to another area in the mountains via magic. Duncan then tells you that there is a mana herb eating bear in that area, and if you run into it, you should give it some mana herbs. Mana herbs are blue plants that can be found in the depths of dungeons and brewed into potions that artificially restore one's mana. Mana is the primary form of magic in Erin, and originates from Iweka, the red moon that you can spot in the skies above. While on the topic of the moons, Ladeka is the name of the blue moon. Out of curiosity, you get some mana herbs and venture back north and find the odd bear in question. It doesn't take long to find it, as the bear isn't hostile. After feeding it some mana herbs, the bear will write the word Tarlach in the snow. Wanting to know what the word means, you hurry back to Duncan and share your encounter with the bear with him. Duncan is surprised by your story, and tells you that Tarlach is the name of one of the 3 missing warriors. He states that the 3 warriors had set off to find Tarlach, but vanished without a trace several years ago. From how Duncan tells you the story, you can decipher that he has personally met the 3 missing warriors, and was saddened to never hear from them again. But what really catches your attention is the mention of Tarlach, as the goddess in your dreams had asked you to save Tarlach. Perhaps following the steps of the missing warrior will guide you in the right direction. You ask Duncan what else he knows about the warriors and Tarlach, and seeing your curiosity piqued, he advises you to head south to the city of Dunbarton, where you will meet someone at the magic school that can tell you more. Heading south, you'll soon come upon Dunbarton, a walled city with sprawling farmland surrounding it. The town is very lively, with merchants, farmers, and adventurers all bustling about. You overhear a variety of tales from other adventurers and start to become familiar with the locals. You meet Evan, a public servant, who is basically the leader of the town since the actual Lord Fortis, hasn't made a public appearance in some time. Then there's Walter, the somewhat emotionless general shop owner, and his bookworm daughter Aria, who runs the bookstore on the other side of town. The very animated Simon with his fabulous clothing shop, and the motherly Glennis that makes sure you never leave her shop without a full belly. Then there's the optimistic town healer Manus that patches up all your injuries and makes sure that you're in the best of health. Your search for more information about the missing warriors takes you to the school where you meet Dunbarton's magic teacher, Stuart. Inquiring about the missing warriors with him, he'll reveal that he is in possession of a locket that once belonged to Tarlach. The locket contains a picture of a young Tarlach and his older sister. He'll give you the locket, explaining that it's a memory cipher, an item that permits someone to view a memory associated with the item. Thus, the locket contains a memory of Tarlach's quest to find Tarlach. Stuart explains that the best way to view a memory is by placing the memory cipher upon one of the many dungeon altars around the area. He directs you to return to Tir Turnell and venture to Albi Dungeon to experience Tarlach's memory properly. Returning to Tir Turnell, you venture towards Albi Dungeon. Trevor warns you that the dungeon is infested with giant spiders, and it's not uncommon to find mimics hiding amongst the treasure chests and wolves prowling around the corners. Thankfully, you're not there to face the dungeon yourself today, as you place the locket upon the altar and enter Tarlach's memory. You learn that the three missing warriors are Ruri, an exceptionally skilled swordsman, Tarlach, a druid, and Mari, a young archer from Tir-Chanel? Wait, she's a local of Tir-Chanel? Huh. As the trio work their way through the dungeon, they reveal the different reasons for searching for Tir-Chanel. Ruri, like you, had the same Blackwing goddess appear to him in his dreams, beckoning to seek her out and save Tir-Chanel. Mari is tagging along because she wants to uncover some missing memories from her earlier youth, and hopes the goddess can help her with that. As for Tarlach, he is seeking an entrance to Tir-Chanel to reunite with his sister, who was killed by Fomors. Fomors, or Fomorians, is a term used to describe the collective of monstrous races that have been at war with humanity for many generations. Amongst the Fomorian ranks are goblins, kobolds, trolls, lycanthropes, succubi, and many, many more. Many Fomorians will use magic scrolls to control wildlife and make them even more hostile than normal, such as the giant spiders within Albi that the trio of Ruri, Tarlach, and Mari are currently facing. Tarlach states that the dungeons were originally created to protect Aaron from the Fomorians' world, and that the magic of the dungeons was corrupted by the goddess within Tir-Chanel. However, Fomorian activity within the dungeons has been increasing as of late, and coupling that with the prophetic dream of Ruri's, he fears something is horribly wrong with the goddess. Unfortunately, the memory ends there, but now you have new leads to pursue. When you visit Mevin and inquire about the goddess, he states that the goddess you described is Morrighan, the goddess of war and vengeance. He gives you a book to read later that explains who Morrighan is in better detail, before asking if you learned about her by using a memory cipher that belonged to Tarlach. Mevin reveals that he knows Tarlach, and that the druid was the only survivor of the tragedy that befell the three warriors in their search for Tir-Chanel. He states that Tarlach is alive, and if you want to find him, you only need to head north after nightfall. While you wait for nightfall, you read the book that Mevin gave you. It's called The Goddess That Turned into Stone. The book explains that Morrighan turned to stone to seal the dungeons so that the Fomorians could not invade Erin during the first battle of Tir-Chanel, a great battle that occurred many years ago between the humans and Fomorians on the plains of Sinmag. When nightfall arrives, you set off to meet Tarlach. You find him in the same spot that you saw the odd mana herb eating bear before. Tarlach greets you and thanks you for the mana herbs, revealing that he is the bear, and that he has to transform into a bear during the day to consume mana herbs to keep his mana stable. He quickly deduces that you had a dream about Morrighan, and like Ruri, you too were asked to save her and Tir-Chanel. He then asks you to give up on your search and forget about the dream. You try to pry, but instead he tells you to go read a book to satiate your curiosity before shooing you away. Wow, how rude. With no other leads to go with, you return to Dunbarton to find the book in question. With the help of the bookstore keeper Arya, you get the book, The Land of Eternity, Tir-Chanel. Reading through it, you learn that Tir-Chanel is a paradise where the sick are healed and where no wars take place. A perfect place of peace and prosperity. However, the book also cautions that one shouldn't pin all hopes on finding Tir-Chanel, as the paradise described is not a real place. So, where do we go from here? Why not pester Tarlach some more? I'm sure that druid will start eternally screaming every time he sees you appear in the mountain pass. When you approach him again, he's reluctant. But eventually he explains that Tir-Chanel is a real place, but it's actually the land of the Fomorians, and that the goddess is only luring innocent adventurers like yourself to their doom. Seeing your puzzled face, he then gives you the Brown Evil Pass, a special pass that can be offered to the Altar of Bari dungeon. Tarlach states that the pass was created by the Fomorians to avoid the barriers that Morrighan created upon the dungeons. He recommends not going, but if you're steadfast in finding out the truth for yourself, then he suggests being cautious when you encounter what lurks within Bari dungeon. Wait, where's Bari dungeon? Alright, the town of Bangor. Taking the roads heading south from Dunbarton, you will find yourself venturing through Garge Hills on your way to Bangor. The sprawling hills border a bountiful ancient forest called Fiod, and as you venture down the trail, you find a large excavation site. There, 3 workers work tirelessly away at uncovering a massive statue of a dragon that has long been embedded in the hard earth. While the statue is interesting, your goals lie elsewhere at the moment. A little further south, you arrive in Bangor, a mining town situated between the Ironwich Cliffs that lead to the southern coastline. The town is built around a mine shaft, where a complex system of mine rails lies within. The place almost seems like a ghost town, as the town was a victim to a Fomorian invasion several years prior. Due to the invasion, most of the town's population moved elsewhere, leaving a small but stubborn population to continue working away. Following Tarlach's instructions, you head into the mines to Bari Dungeon. A young lad called Shian will warn you that Bari Dungeon is filled with goblins and gremlins, and to be very careful. Thankfully, you have all the tricks Brandon Lassar taught you, and you quickly find yourself in the final chamber of the dungeon. There, you discover the Black Wizard. The Black Wizard states you are trespassing and disobeying the will of the goddess, and that in her name, he will slay you. Unfortunately, he's not as quick with Firebolt as you are. Once he's defeated, you find an odd medal on his person. Looking at the medal, you recognize it as one of the ones the priests of Limerick would wear. You take the medal back to Mevin, and he will confirm that the medal is indeed what a priest would wear. However, he will note that there is Fomorian script written upon it. He recommends you speak to Randall to find a means of translating it. Wait, the combat instructor? How can he help? When you ask Randall, he gives you an arena coin to Albie Dungeon. He tells you that the arena coin will take you to a special Albie dungeon that is used for combat training. There you will find a friendly Fomorian who can translate the script. Venturing to the arena, you're quickly met by Albie's arena gatekeeper, Goro, a goblin. Goro gladly helps with translating the medal. He does caution that he grew up with the human language as his main tongue, so his Fomorian is a bit rusty, but he gives the translation a shot. Du Bra Dara Sharan, which Goro translates to "Goddess, please lend me the moonlight." With the translation, you return to Tarlach to discuss your findings. The druid informs you that Goro's translation is technically correct, but the phrase actually means, "Oh goddess, please bestow me your powers." He reveals that he learned that from a Fomorian who held a similar medal, and then points out that now that you have proof and saw firsthand a Fomorian declaring an act in the name of Morrighan, that the goddess is indeed helping the Fomorians enter Erin. But then why would you have a dream of Morrighan calling out for your aid? You can tell that Tarlach's faith and trust in the goddess has been shaken by whatever occurred in his quest for Turnong with his friends. Surely, there must be an explanation. Unfortunately, there isn't much you can do, so as you leave the mountain pass, you decide to visit Goro and tell him what the translation actually means. The goblin quickly apologizes for the innocent mistake and offers to introduce you to someone who can translate the Fomorian language properly. Although he cannot remember the name of the individual, he does state that she is a Succubus who lives in Dunbarton, and that she is viewed as a traitor to the Fomorians. A Succubus in Dunbarton? But where? Clearly, whomever it is hiding their true identity. So you devise a plan to find them, asking everyone, Dubra Dara Sharon, and hoping someone reacts differently. Oddly, your plan works. And it's the Dunbarton priestess, Christelle. Wait, the Succubus is the priestess? Oh boy. Anyway, Christelle inquires how you know what that phrase means. And upon your explanation, she reveals that she is the one who taught Tarlach it. She confirms that she is a Succubus, but she has devoted herself to the Church of Limerick. And as you look her up and down, wondering why she has a flatter chest than now, she'll inform you that she became human thanks to the blessing of the gods. When you ask Christelle if Morrighan is really helping the Fomorians with their invasion, she will shake her head and state that she doesn't believe that claim. In her eyes, Morrighan has always been looking out for mankind, even as a statue. Then she asks you where Tarlach is, but you're not sure if you can trust her with that. She acknowledges your wariness and gives you a pouch for spectacles, and tells you that this item was the only one she was given by Tarlach, and it holds his memories. She directs you to go to Rabbie Dungeon, which is northwest of Dunbarton, to see the truth with your own eyes. Rabbie Dungeon is said to have goblins and skeletons walking around its halls, but you've heard a few rumors in town that if an adventurer enters the dungeon alone, there's a chance they'll come across a succubus. Seeing that Christelle sent you here, you have a sneaking suspicion that Tarlach was alone on his venture. Placing the pouch upon the altar, you're quickly greeted by the sight of Succubus Christelle.
처음 들어온 날에 사실 전 놀라지 않았답니다. 제 가슴 속에는 이미 당신의 사랑이 살고 있었거든요. 라라 라라 눈을 감지 마세요. 그 눈빛 속에 나를 가둬주세요. 당신은 나의 주인님, 당신은 나의 주인님. 검은 장미의 영원한 주인.
When her song is over, you learn that she and Tarlach have crossed paths many times, while he searches the dungeons for an entrance to Tarlach. Over time, Christelle had fallen in love with Tarlach, but he rejects her advances as he walks the path of a druid. Wait, are druids like monks in this world? Ah, so Tarlach just doesn't think he deserves love or something. Got it. Out of respect for Tarlach's privacy, you don't reveal his location to her. You do inform her of how he is doing. She smiles and asks for you to tell him that she wishes to meet him sometime. You agree to pass on the message and return north to Tarlach. Relaying her message to him, he seems troubled and informs you that he cannot reciprocate her feelings. But he trusts her enough that maybe, just maybe, she could translate something for the both of you. He passes you a Fomorian book to be translated. Returning to Christelle, you give her the book to translate. It takes her some time, but when she finishes, she won't give it back to you, and will only give it to Tarlach. This triggers an entertaining back and forth between these two lovebirds, where ultimately you have to get a black rose to give to Christelle as a token of appreciation from Tarlach. Only once that is done, you get the book from her. The translated Fomor book is called the Book of Revenge. The book is a call of arms to the Fomorians by a human called Morrighan, who has turned his back on humanity. Morrighan cites that humans are the creation of chaos, while the Fomors are the creation of order. In order to protect Tarlach, humans must be destroyed. But who is this Morrighan? Christelle unfortunately doesn't know who he is, so you go back to Tirtra now to speak with Duncan. Hopefully he may be familiar with that name. To your luck, Duncan is very familiar with that name. Duncan explains that he met the druid Lore Ghaibhleann back during the time of the Magturn Wars. During the peak of the war, an evil druid by the name of Japchiel was working with the Fomorians. Japchiel casted a spell that brought moon rocks crashing down Sinmag Plains and much of Ulan, creating a lot of destruction in its wake. Morrighan confronted Japchiel and stopped this spell. However, the duel that followed between the two druids ended with both of their deaths. Duncan laments that everybody was heartbroken when a friend of Morrighan's returned to tell him of his fate. Morrighan was seen as a war hero to many people, and was loved and respected, yet Now there is a Fomorian book written by Morris's hand calling for the death of humanity. You take the book back to Tarlach to inquire the truth. Tarlach confirms that it was indeed written by the very same Morris Gwydion that Duncan once knew. Tarlach states that Morris was his mentor, and that he was always skeptical of his master's death. As Tarlach reads the book over, he notes that Morris seemed to be distraught over a particular personal item being lost. Tarlach guesses that the item was a broken ring torque, and suggests that you check Dunbarton's town office, as they have a sizable lost and found there. Wait, what? Are we really just checking out lost and found to see if some key item is there? Oh, this is a video game, of course it's going to be there. When you get to the town office, you find Christelle had already found the item in question. She states that there are memories within it, and recommends using Math Dungeon's altar to view its memories. Without hesitation, you hurry to Math, a dungeon that often has kobold lurking within it, but today you're venturing to a memory. There you follow Morris, who is looking for his wife and daughter after the war. He is determined to escape the dungeon to find them, but as he reaches the end, he encounters the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord informs Morris that he cannot return and reveals the fate of his wife and child. Their home was set ablaze by humans, killing everyone within. The Dark Lord explains that the upper aristocrats were jealous of Morris's heroics during the war, and that they wanted that credit for themselves. But they couldn't claim that glory if his family and friends remained alive to refute their claims. The Dark Lord then extends his hand to Morris, offering to take him to see the goddess, stating that he, like Morris, has turned his back upon the corrupted race called humanity. Morris accepts, and soon meets the goddess. The goddess states that she is not only the guardian of warriors, but also the author of War and Vengeance, and that she, like Morris, had lost hope in humanity, for they have slayed their own brethren for greed and power, and to achieve the order of Atan and Shemini, to bring peace to the world, humans must be destroyed. Upon this revelation, you confide in what you witness with Christelle, Duncan, and Tarlach. Tarlach gives you back the Book of Revenge, and when you let Duncan read it, he gets the impression that there is another volume or two to the book. Out of curiosity, you inquire to your favorite bookworm about other books written in Fomorian script. Arya does some research, and soon, 2 more books written in Fomorian script are found, and with Christelle's assistance, they are both translated. The second book regales that the goddess Morrighan is on the side of the Fomorians. Okay, lame, we already picked up on that from what we've been seeing. The third book, however, reveals that Morris and the Fomorians are seeking to revive a destructive beast called Glas Ghaibhleann. Duncan informs you that he had loaned a book about Glas Ghaibhleann to Bryce, the banker in Bangor, who's a bit of a history nerd. When you ask Bryce for the book, he'll gladly hand it over and comment that the creature requires a lot of adamantium to be made. Adamantium is a special mineral that's resistant to magic, and that mineral just so happened to be what Bangor's mines were popular for back in the day, but those veins have all long run dry. Now, with the book The Embodiment of Destruction, Glas Ghaibhleann in hand, you return back to Tarlach. On your trip back north, you take notice to a few things within the book. First, there have been multiple Glas Ghaibhleanns throughout history. The first occurred during the wars between the Partholons and the Fomorians. 2. When a Glas Ghaibhleann was felled, an explosion of dark energy would be released from its body. And 3. A Fomorian king called Balor once gave a Glas Ghaibhleann to a craftsman, who eventually lost control of the monster because he wasn't a summoner. Clearly, you need to be a summoner in order to control one of these things. But also, Partholons. Who are they? Are they still around? And the Fomorians have a king? There is still a lot you don't know about this world, but now is some time to get sidetracked. When you return to Tarlach, you aid him in creating a preservation powder for his broken glasses, so that they can be used as a memory cipher upon an altar to see what happened to him, Ruri, and Mari. As the memory unfolds, the trio are fighting their way through the depths of an unknown dungeon. They face the same Dark Lord you saw in Morris's memory. The Dark Lord proves to be a formidable opponent to the trio of friends, but eventually they manage to overpower him, causing him to retreat with an ominous warning to the trio upon their fates and not being all that desirable. The trios press on and enter a large chamber. There, they find a dormant Glas Ghaibhleann, still being constructed by the Fomorians. Mari spots a chest nearby and finds the untranslated Book of Revenge, which she gives to Tarlach. Huh, I was wondering where he got that book. Morris then appears and ignores Tarlach calling out to him. Instead, the old druid instructs the Dark Lord to take the trio out, but not to kill them. The Dark Lord and his soldiers soon reappear and advance upon the trio, quickly overpowering them. As the trio call out to each other, Morris hears Mari's name and tries to stop the attack. But then the goddess appears and states that the trio have disobeyed her will and orders for their deaths. With that, the Dark Lord strikes, and Tarlach is unable to reach his friends in time. Tarlach awakens within Rabbi Dungeon, being nursed back to health by Christelle. When he asks about his friends, she informs him that he was alone. He doubts her, but she speaks the truth, and continues to tend to his injuries as the memory fades away. When he returns to Tarlach, he confirms that Mari and Ruri's fates are unknown, and that Morris had somehow got him to safety. But Tarlach views that he had died as well that day along with his beloved friends, as he was a young druid in training, and that the events of that day damaged his magical ability so badly he can no longer control his mana. Thus he has to turn to a bear during daylight hours and eat mana herbs to keep his mana in check. He hates the goddess and will never forgive her for her betrayal. You leave Tarlach to wallow in his memories and go back to Tir Turnell to confide with Duncan about what you've witnessed. Duncan seems disheartened by the revelation and discloses to you that Mari was in fact Morris's daughter, and that before Morris's wife Sheila's death, she had sealed Mari's memory of her and Morris to protect her from the greedy nobles that were lurking at their doorstep. Then used her magic to summon several deer to carry the child to the safety of the chief. Duncan thus raised Mari to the young archer you had seen in the memories. He asks you to keep Mari's secret, and then states that he still has doubts about Morrighan's betrayal, but there isn't much more that either of you can do. Resting for the night, you have another dream. There, Morrighan is pleading out for someone to hear her. She states that Glas Ghaibhleann will soon be revived, and that someone must come to defeat it and save her from some place. Then she says something about Pendant being the key and to hurry. You wake from your dream, only to find an owl from Duncan awaiting you. You hurry back to Duncan, who gives you an item that he found while cleaning. You immediately recognize it as the other half of Morris's torque ring. Duncan explains that this half belonged to Sheila, and that it had been tucked into the blanket that Mari was delivered to him in long ago. Duncan decides to give it to you, hopeful that the druid's wife might have had a few tricks up her sleeve that could help you. When you take Sheila's torque to Map Dungeon, you're surprised to witness the memories of Sheila's ghost. The ghost desperately follows Morris and tries to call out to him, but the living cannot see or hear her. When the Dark Lord and the goddess appear before Morris, Sheila, being dead, sees the truth, a truth that you now see through her eyes. The goddess before Morris isn't Morrighan, but a white-winged, robed deity, using the goddess's guise to manipulate Morris and who knows who else. Despite Sheila's pleas for Morris not to trust the fake goddess, he agrees and sets forth on a path of revenge. You sprint back to Duncan to tell him the truth. He informs you that the white-winged deity you saw was no doubt Keyhole, one of the Fomorian gods. Duncan states that Keyhole is the instigator of evils, and that the god had brought Glas Ghaibhleann to Erin before, as well as Chrome Crutch to Wrath Castle, and is the reason for Morrigan's sacrifice to seal the dungeons. Whoa. Wait, one of the Fomorian gods? One of the Fomorian gods? And what is Chrome Crutch? And Wrath Castle? Where is that? Oh boy, there's a lot to unpack here, but unfortunately those are subjects that you will have to wait on. Duncan theorizes that when Morrighan created the barriers in the dungeons, Keyhole petrified her and took her to Tir Turnell to keep her trapped. Then Keel pretended to be Morrighan to rally the forces of evil and trick Morris into aiding his cause. Thus, Morrighan is calling out to you for help, as time is running out before Glas Ghaibhleann is revived. With that said, you run back to Tarlach and tell him the truth. His attitude towards Morrighan and you seeking Tarlach changes, and he realizes that the real goddess is indeed in danger. To get there, he gives you a special pass that he and his friends once used to reach Tarlach, and to get there, you have to enter through Bari Dungeon. That night, you have another dream of the goddess. She reveals to you that she is bound by magic stones and cannot halt Glas Ghaibhleann's summoning, and that the monster is in its final stages of construction. She also says that she has foreseen Aaron burning in her visions, and fears for everyone's safety. She asks you to find allies, and to hurry to Albe Dungeon. You set off to Bari Dungeon and use the Black Evil Pass on its altar. To your surprise, the dungeon seems unguarded, and you easily reach a portal gate that connects Aaron to another world. The other world is dead and barren, and eerily the town you find yourself in looks like Tir Janelle, and you soon discover someone who looks like Duncan. This lookalike's name is Dougal. Dougal states that he's the last human that lives here, and when you ask him if you're in Tarlach, he laughs and says that it is not. That it is merely another world claimed by Fomors. Dougal does offer his assistance by giving you a small green gem to use on the altar of Albe Dungeon. He instructs you to find the black orb hidden in the dungeon, and use that orb to enter another dungeon, where the goddess Morrighan is held captive. You easily find the black orb, and upon entering the second dungeon and facing the many foes within, you break the seal on the goddess. With her freed, she tells you to take her pendant to the Soll of Glas Ghaibhleann, that the soul is clad in a human's body. You speak to Dougal once more. He reveals that he is the Soul of Glas Ghaibhleann, and that he dislikes his body being controlled against his will. He engraves a pattern on the goddess pendant, and states that it will guide you to his body. He asks you to defeat it so that he can be freed, and wishes you luck on your mission. You venture into Albe Dungeon and discover that it's the same dungeon that Tarlach, and Mari were within during their last memory saw. Knowing this, you're prepared when the Dark Lord soon blocks your path. The fight is quick, and it almost feels like he let you win. Surely you can't be stronger than someone who can easily strike down a skilled swordsman like Ruri. The Dark Lord states that Glas Ghaibhleann is finished, and vanishes, letting you run to the final chamber where the foe Morrighan stands with Morris. Seeing your arrival, the fake goddess offers you up to the revived Glas Ghaibhleann, and the battle soon ensues. With the defeat of Glas Ghaibhleann, the fake Morrighan laughs, and Morris tells you to flee and that the goddess is fake. Oh, you figured it out? Come on, dude. Keel drops his disguise, bemused that Morris uncovered the charade. Morris tells Keel to surrender and that his plans have failed, but Keel just laughs at the druid. Keel then explains that he wanted Glas Ghaibhleann to be defeated all along, and then you recall what you read in the book before. When a Glas Ghaibhleann is defeated, its body explodes, releasing dark energy from it. The Glas Ghaibhleann you had just defeated then explodes, and a massive dimensional rift is formed. Keel reveals that such a rift now permits the Fomorians to travel into Erin with no hindrance from the goddess statues. Morris then attacks the deity with all his might, trying to right the wrongs that he has caused in his misguided actions. But Keel effortlessly bats away the druid's magic and strikes him down. Keel then turns his attention to you, as the Fomorian god raises a hand to cast a spell at you. A light appears and a voice sounds through the air. The real Morrighan appears and protects you from Keel's attack. Keel is surprised to see her, as he didn't expect a youngster like yourself to free her. Morrighan calls him out for his deceptions and vows to get revenge upon him. He scoffs and counters that he never spoke any falsehoods, that he only used Morrighan's appearance to help make the truth easier for mortals to understand. Morrighan asks why Kehoe hates humanity so much, when he was chosen to carry on Balor's will and lead the Fomorians. She is saddened that after 2 great wars, Kehoe still yearns to see blood spilled from both humans and Fomors. Kehoe rebuttals with the Fomorians are only tools to achieve a goal, and that Balor discarded that truth, which ultimately led to his downfall. Kehoe states that he will not make the same mistake, and will see the world become paradise once mankind is eradicated, as that mission is the will of the Supreme God. Morrighan disapproves of Kehoe putting his own goals above those he's meant to lead, but holds firm on her stance. Kehoe points out that Morrighan is too weak to do anything to stop him, and before he leaves, he congratulates you, and states that he won't forget your name, before he vanishes into the darkness. With Kehoe gone, Morrighan is able to speak freely with you, thanking you for your persistence, and informs you that Erin, the world that now guided you to, is actually turning on, and that Erin is in more danger than before. As you're speaking, Now appears, and comforts Morris as he dies. Morrighan reveals to you that Now is actually Mari, who was reborn as a goddess to watch over the Soul Stream, and that since the tragedy that befell the 3 missing warriors, Now has searched for his soul, your soul, that could help save the goddess. Morrighan then sends you back to Tir Tonel, praying that the blessings of Limerick and Aton Chimney will be with you on your adventures to come, and that you walk the path of Erin's guardian, veiled in light. And that concludes Generation 1, Advent of the Goddess. Oh my gosh, we did it! Thank you all so much for tuning into this video. Special shout out and thank yous to my fellow lore geek Soll, who helped me with this script and popped up in this video a few times. And a thank you to my friends TheBadger, Fianna, and Reni, who helped me with filming some scenes and silliness. I will be making videos for all the generations of this game, so feel free to hit the subscribe buttons so you don't miss the next installment, and any feedback is greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much again, and this was super fun! And I'll see you all in Generation 2, Paladins.